Hi Dgens. In this video, I'm going to cover everything you need to know to play Jueyuan well, starting with a kit overview, moving into her preferred discs, W engines, teammates, the impact of Mindscapes, and then finally, how to actually play her. And if you watch nothing else, please at least skip to the last part where we actually learn to play her because it's so freaking important. And so hopefully by the end of this video, you will not only understand how to build her and a team around her, but also how to actually play her. That said, let's start off with her kit. So Jueyuan is an attack class Ether attribute character whose playstyle is kind of like a mix of close range martial arts with mid-range gunning. Her entire kit is centered around managing these 9 little dots up here, and these things are called enhanced shot shells. I'll refer to them as charges or potentially stacks. It's exactly the same thing. In a nutshell, anytime she does anything major, like using an EX skill or evasive assist or dodge counter, chain combo, whatever, she will gain more of these little dots, more charges, more enhanced shot shells. Therefore, you are rewarded for playing well. And then when you are ready and you have all of these charges, you can unload those shot shells and deal massive ether damage. Alright, and so starting off with her basic attack, just single pressing her basic attack will activate assault mode. And this is her normal attack chain, which is a mix of physical damage as well as ether damage. So there are 5 hits in total, and if you land the 4th or 5th hit, then you will gain one of those little dots, the shot shells. On the other hand, holding down her basic attack will activate suppressive mode. So you'll see we're going to start expending those little dots. And so what's happening here is that we're able to use up those little dots to deal ether damage. Now, for both your assault mode, which is your tap basic attack, and your suppressive mode, which is your hold basic attack, boom, 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 you can combine either of them with your directional input. So I can do dodge attacks like that, and I can hold down my basic attack to kind of roll all over the place to do dodge attacks, but in suppressive mode, which means that I can burn shot shells, charges in exchange for ether damage with some mobility. And so the last dodge skill to note is the dodge counter. So this one right here, and as you can see, I was able to recover a charge if I successfully pull it off just like that and just like that again. Alright, so moving over to the assists. Everything here is relatively standard, except you get enhanced shot shells. When you quick assist, which are activated when your supports pull off a major buff or CC, you will accumulate 1 enhanced shot shell. Successfully pulling off your assist follow-up, which is also commonly known as your switch parry, that will also get you 3 charges. Using your special skill without the energy, the E skill, allows you to attack 3 times in succession with ether damage. To be honest, this thing hits like a freaking wet noodle, so I'd really only ever use this to panic trigger a chain combo. But your EX special skill, on the other hand, with the energy, rains bullets onto the enemy, dealing shit tons of ether damage. You also get 3 charges for activating it. Lastly, we have the chain attack, which does massive ether damage and also recovers 3 charges, and then the ultimate itself, which does even more bigly ether damage, also recovering 3 charges. And then in terms of her core skills, her core passive, the TLDR, is that her enhanced shot shells, those ether bullets, they get bonus damage simply for existing. However, when you use them and attack stunned enemies, then that bonus doubles. On top of that, when she enters the field, she also gains 6 enhanced shot shells right off the bat. And so lastly, for reals, additional ability. This thing gives her an increase in 30% to her crit rate for 10 seconds after she activates her EX skill, chain attack, or ultimate. And the requirement for this is either a support character or somebody from the same faction. So to summarize Jueyuan with what I said at the start, her entire kit is centered around managing those charges, playing well enough to efficiently accumulate those charges, knowing when to actually unload them, and understanding how many we should unload in each situation. And so for disk drives, her best in slot 4-piece set is 100% definitely Chaotic Metal. This thing gives ever damage, crit damage, and also even more crit damage if you're able to trigger corruption as well. To be honest, this set was pretty much designed for her. And in terms of the 2-piece set, it would be either Woodpecker Electro, Puffer Electro, or Hormone Punk. And it's really dependent on whichever one has the best substats. They're all pretty impactful. I'm personally a fiend for crit rate, so I would probably go Woodpecker. But again, at the end of the day, whichever one has the best substats will win. That said though, most of us are actually in the mid game right now. So I would say 4-piece Woodpecker, 4-piece Puffer Electro, 4-piece Hormone Punk. Honestly, as long as it's like plus 15 or something, like you've juiced up one set, that set, which is hopefully going to be one of these 3, it's going to be infinitely better than plus 0 Chaotic Metal. Again, Chaotic Metal is the end game goal, but until we get there, any of these certainly works. For disc slot 4, we are certainly looking for crit damage first, but if you do find out your crit rate is a little bit on the lower side, then you can certainly consider using crit rate as well. Just try and make sure that you don't overcap because of the plus 30% buff. As for slot 5, we're going for either Ether damage bonus or pen ratio, whichever one has the better substats. And then slot 6, ultra easy, attack percent ratio. Alright, now moving into her W engines, her best in slot is her signature, to the surprise of literally nobody at all, which not only gives crit damage, but also Ether damage bonus. Now, the effect is actually even more cracked because when she uses her EX skill, her basic or dash attacks, which is that Ether suppressive mode, they get a damage bonus if they are Ether attributed, which they are. But other than that, we have the Brimstone, which is Soldier 11's signature. This actually synergizes surprisingly well with Zhu because both characters are kind of centered around their basic attacks and dash attacks. On the other hand, if you are a 4-star Copa like me, then it's gotta be Starlight Engine, which is craftable by the way, but this is just like such an ultra solid choice. That said though, BP's Cannon Rotor is also quite good, especially because of the crit rate. If you are using Starlight Engine, do remember to do the dodge counters or quick assists, or else this thing will just be a stat stick and it's not going to have its plus 12% attack. For your Bangbus, I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit obvious because it's going to be the Ether focused ones, which is your Reasonabu, this one here, as well as your Magnetabu. That said, I do believe that there is a really high chance that a PubSec focus like a Police Bangbu will be released. Similar to like Safety for your Bellabog gang, or even like Butler for your Victoria Housekeeping gang. I reckon it's going to be like one of these little guys over here, especially because this is a NEPS officer. So if you are interested in that, I would hold on to my Bupons. That said, I personally do think that Reasonabu is the best Bangbu in the game because of its massive black hole and its freaking slender skin. So I would just take this. Or again, Povo option, Magnetabu. Next, we've got Mindscapes, and as with all characters, these things are absolutely nice to have. If you're a low spender or a no spender, I would suggest just closing your eyes for this section. M1 is interesting because it gives you more charges, 6 charges instantly when you use your chain attack or your ultimate. This ultimately means that you have your enhanced shot shells for pretty much the entire burst duration. M2 gives you more stability whilst you're unloading your charges, but also severely debuffs the enemy. In a nutshell, you do more damage, but you only do more damage with Zhu Yuan. M4 is another greedy buff where her charge shots ignore Ether resistance, which again just means more damage. And then for M6, it reduces the energy cost of her EX skill, and it fires off more shots, which in practice just means more damage. If you want a recommendation, like you're insistent on all of this, I would say that M1 is the only one that really kinda changes how she plays. Otherwise, most of it, if not all of it, is actually just plus damage. Alright, let's talk team comps. The most obvious comp right now is Zhu Yuan, Ambi, and Nicole, especially because everyone has Ambi and Nicole. Nicole activates Zhu Yuan's additional ability, giving her the plus 30% crit rate thing, but she also gets her own one activated, which gives plus 25% extra Ether damage in addition to her big defense down. Ambi, on the other hand, is a convenient pick because she gets her core passive, her additional ability activated from being in the same team as Nicole. Otherwise, to be honest, every single team is going to be Zhu Yuan, Nicole, and somebody else. And that somebody else is always either going to be your Kaleda or your Lycaon. To be honest though, there aren't too many valid reasons to not run this team right here. One would be that maybe your Ambi is not built, and the other may be that you just don't like how she plays. Other than that, there are some new COP characters that will be coming out in next patch 1.1, so if you did want to hold out for them, you can absolutely do that as well. That said though, at this point in the game, I think that Zhu Yuan and Nicole, they are hard attached. Alright my guys, it's finally time for the actual how to play Zhu Yuan. And so the first thing I need to do is to come over to the skill info and show you the ratios of the suppressive mode, which is this one down here, please do not resist. Remember that this is your hold attack, this is your Ether damage, big shots. What you will notice is that it's actually a 3-hit combo, but the last hit deals 3 times as much as the other 2 hits, which means that you should be burning your enhanced shots in groups of 3 to really make sure you get that big fat damage that's loaded in the last shot. We know that we can do suppressive dodge attacks, which you'll accomplish by holding the basic plus a directional. and that turns your suppressive mode into this one over here. However, what you will notice is that if you keep doing this and you don't stand still, you will never trigger that third hit. You see this 185% over here? You can see 1 hit, 2 hit, 185. You are never going to get to the 556%, the last juicer. That, my guys, is probably the most important thing in this whole video. You need to freaking stand still and use your 3 attacks and don't roll around and shit. Especially when the enemy is stunned. Remember guys, when the enemy is stunned, those shots, that damage bonus gets doubled. So my guys, when that boss is stunned, you'd better be standing still so you can hit this 556%. And so that's going to bring us into the different phases of enemies. Because in normal phase, you actually risk overstacking your charges. Alright, in that case, what exactly is the move then? I would say, for your little dots up here, hover around 6 charges or so. So you see I'm on 8, I would be like, bam, bam. And so that takes me down to 6 charges. Like yeah, the enemy is not broken, but it's still good damage. But more importantly, it's also helping you build your Ether attribute anomaly. And the attribute anomaly is not only important for your Ether set, but for all sets, because all of those elemental sets, they trigger on attribute anomaly. In our case here, it's corruption. And that, my guys, is also the reason why these elemental Bangbus are so freaking important. Look at all of that Ether building up. And so yeah, going back to these 6 charges up here, the reason as to why we want to hold at least 6 charges, but no more, is because when we finally stun the enemy, like this over here, and I use my chain attack, you will see I'm going to come out of it with 9 charges, because the chain attack, remember, gives you 3 charges. And so after stunning that enemy, I know I'm out of it now, but I have 9 charges to unload on his stunned ass. However, whilst this guy is stunned, there is actually another turning point. Because after coming out of the chain combo, if you have ultimate, you do not ultimate immediately. You burn 3 charges first, and then you ultimate. Because you're going to get another 3 charges back, and then you can unload 9 charges onto the enemy. Another thing to note is for chain combos, you should try to initiate it with Nicole's EX skill, so that your chain combo's damage can benefit from the defense down. Then, after that, Nicole should attack last with your Bangbu so that she can extend the duration of the defense down and trigger quick assist, in which you then switch in with your Zhu and blow the enemy up with all of that other damage. And remember my guys, stand as still as possible, my degens, to get that big fat last hit on your suppressive mode. And so that, my guys, is Zhu in a nutshell. I'm really sorry that you had to deal with the chapter 2 interlude spam, but that's all I had. That said though, I do hope that this video has helped you understand that whilst Zhu looks like she's just unga bunga flying around the map kind of thing, her skill ceiling is actually really freaking high, like most characters in the game, to be honest. A lot of her damage is tied to you being able to play well, so if you do like that, then Zhu is for you. That said though, if there is anything that I have missed, do let us know down in the comments below, but otherwise, my guys, that is going to be the end of the video, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.